Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Fort Friday. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, we have, of course, the Fort Michael McKenry. What's going on, man? Long time.
No, it's been a minute. I don't like it.
I know. Well,
not much, man.
You're not busy or anything.
Yeah, I got a couple things going on. How are you?
Not a whole lot on my side. Just watching some baseball. The last time I think we spoke, the season didn't even start yet. So we have about a month's worth of. It has actually. It was right when I came back. Well, you were like the week before, so it was right when I came back from Bradenton.
That's right.
Like the week after, which is like 2 weeks after you were there.
Yeah, I've been getting used to all the new, I guess, transitions into Nesson and the Pirates and everything else. It's very different.
Not that there's any new stuff going on with them or anything.
Man, no, not at all.
Which, by the way, you bringing it up. Let's hit on that real quick. The app finally in oh geez, what am I missing here? In market streaming with the app. Good stuff. Finally, I know a lot of people are really excited about that.
Yeah, it's a great first step. I mean, I didn't even know it was going to drop, so it's kind of like our communication's not very good. I got an email, and I'm really happy about it. I'm happy that they opened it up to a certain extent with MLB. They play one of the two shows that we do in the pre and post because they consider it two shows, not one full hour, which is different, but it's been the format they've used for the last, I guess, little bit for Nesson and Boston. So, yeah, I'm happy that Pirates fans all over, especially in the region, can look at it on their phone or possibly see that first or second pre or post game. Yeah. I'm not sure which one they play.
Yeah, same. Actually, I texted you the other day too because I mean that's just the usual. I'm just accustomed to. I don't see the pre or post at all. I just see your stream is waiting or the game awaiting or something like that, and then it cuts in like 5 minutes before the game starts, and you see like a little bit of the pregame in that sense, and goes to the game. And I think I was just like in my room early, so I happened to just have the channel on, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, there's Fort and Brawl. What's going on here?
Right.
So like I was glad to see, even us outside of market, right, just watching MLB TV, getting to see that the pre and post is on there now too. So pretty cool.
Well, it's really nice too, especially with the game speeding up. I mean, it's very hard during the broadcast to do much, right? So I feel like our job now in a pre and post game situation is to actually answer the questions. And I think you're going to see that evolve over time too, because you don't have that ability really anymore in the game. I mean, it is so quick, and those breaks are really quick, and you have to get those reads in. There's a lot to it. So I think pre and post actually going to pick up. I think it's going to grow over the next, maybe 3 to 5 years, because you're going to have somewhere to go. I mean, a lot of people come to you guys, ask questions, but like where you can banter, where you can learn, kind of have a little bit closer look. Maybe that is partnered with the team. And I don't know any other way they would do it unless they start doing a bunch of different stuff, or people like you guys, John Boys, and all these other different entities are going to take reins, but they still can't play the actual game. I can't break it down. You know what I mean? So
right.
I think it's going to be better. I'm going to be interested to see kind of how it unfolds over the next year. I think we're going to see constant change. And I hope the fans like it. That's all that really matters to me. It's like, I want to talk baseball. I want to break down things, and I want the fans to love it. And if they don't, I want to be able to figure out why, and a lot of times that's hidden too often. We should always be out in front talking to fans. I wish we took calls every day. They've turned it down. I would love to. Can we take calls? Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, because what better, right?
Yeah.
One staple guy like you call in every time. Hey, Mr. McKenry, I have a question.
I have a lot of questions.
I know you do.
Yeah. But no, actually, that is a good segue because, I definitely want to talk some ball. I got a lot of questions, and let's hash some things out because this season started off really exciting. The Pirates started off 9-2. The bats were going. The pitching was there. And I felt like coming into the season, it was really the starting pitching that had a lot of question marks. I felt like if there was going to be something that's going to hold this team back, it's going to be the starting pitching. At least until Haines comes up. Maybe Jared Jones finally hits his stride, I don't know, in like June and doesn't become Superman from day one. But it seemed like, outside of Bailey Falter's first inning and Mitch Keller's start was kind of like the pitching was really, really good. The bullpen was as advertised and the hitting was all there. I mean, this looked like a complete team. And, Miami, okay, it's the Marlins, but you have Baltimore, you have the Phillies. There were some good teams in there they're playing against. And it's like, wow, this is a sound fundamental. Well, the fundamentals weren't all there then either, though, but this is a pretty sound baseball team. And then they went into Philadelphia and Fort. Things have just fallen apart and they have not put it back together again. So, and it's like now at this point in time, we're 3 weeks deep from that Phillies series, essentially. And this isn't like, to me, a bad stretch. This is the norm right now. Like the anomaly is the 9-2 start. So what is going on, man?
I think it's deeper than what most people think. I mean, I watch these games. I would look at the guys' emotional state and they look defeated, and that's not a good place to be. And that has been ongoing for a while. Even in these wins, it hasn't given them that extra spark that they've needed. You think after those huge at bats with Reynolds and Key Bryan, that the spark was just going to be there, but it just hasn't. And they need that spark. They need to find that spark, that Jay Hay that, trucks Molina at the plate, or something that's just a little bit different that gets this team going and kind of puts it in perspective. Because this team doesn't, in my opinion, have an identity. And that's probably the biggest problem. They have all the talent. They have no identity. And a lot of guys that should maybe know who they are aren't figuring it out. And there's 1,000 reasons that could be, but Alika Williams knows who he is and he's succeeding. Weird, right? Like he's playing well because it's very predictable. When this game gets predictable, as hard as it is easier to play because you know what you're prepared for. But when you don't, you are always going to try to do more than you possibly can. And that's a bad place to be. So I think we have a lot of guys that are pressing. We have a lot of guys that are kind of lost in who they are. And we also have, coaches that are doing the same thing. So it's a collective group that are kind of, trying to figure out how to navigate a lot of probably inner turmoil more than they are out on the field. Because the product in the field is a byproduct of a lot of times of the confidence. I haven't seen the swagger, I haven't seen the confidence. We haven't been running bases the same way. We haven't been overly aggressive like we have been in the years past, especially a rounding third. I mean, we're not scoring runs. So that's a question. You're like, well, we have speed. I mean, you look at our speed. You have O'Neal Cruz, one of the fastest guys on the planet. Key Bryan Hayes can run 90 percentile. Jack Swinski can run 90 percentile. Michael Taylor, Andrew McCutcheon, Brian Reynolds is 85%. Jared Trillo, 90 percentile. Edward Olivares, 90 percentile. Henry Davis, 88. And then Connor Joe, 85. We have one of the fastest teams in baseball. And we're watching the Reds and Cubs take off constantly and cause pressure. We're not doing that. We're not ever doing anything to what the player looks like, they could do. And that's called being timid. They're afraid to make a mistake. And just as much everybody's kind of like looking at it, it's like, oh, it's this reason. It's this reason. I think it's a collective reasoning. I think they had an incredible spring. They got off to a hot start and it was going to fall. Now it's how do we rebound? Do we let this thing simmer for a while and we just stayed there, smolder, or we create that spark and a big flame comes out of it? That's what could happen. I don't know what's going to happen. And that's the worst part. I hope the good part happens, but that's where I see us. And I hope that makes sense to you.
Well, so let me say this too, because there's a lot of truth in what you said there, and, before this show started, like I said, I don't know what the answer is. And that's what maybe going to work out today in the show. But because you are correct, there's a lot of talent, and to blame one person on an entire team's futility it's just kind of hard to do, but everyone's gunning for Andy Haines right now. Everyone's gunning for Shelton. Everyone's gunning for coaching, management. There's still a lot to put on the players.
But here's the thing. Here's what I always say. What's the cure? Because those guys are a cog in a machine that you have to look at from a collective standpoint before you can say that guy gets fired, because that's Brian Reynolds' hitting coach. Who's the one guy that's been hitting all year long? Brian Reynolds. That's DeLay's hitting coach. Who's been the most consistent off the bench player the last 2 years? Jason DeLay. It's tough to say that Andy Haines is the problem because that's the only two guys he hits with consistently, right? And that's so it's that there's voices coming from all over. People work with Driveline. They do all different things. You have to gain the trust. And when guys are struggling, they'll go to the depths of anything to figure it out. old hitting coaches, old college coaches, and you can't control that, especially nowadays, right? And then they're all on social media. So like, I'm with you. Like, there has to always be someone to blame, but it's like, make sure that it's always asked properly. You know what I mean?
You're not saying the players are on social media at all, looking up their names, are you?
No, not at all.
No, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's kind of what you do, and then a lot of times they're taught not to face it instead of like, that's why I speak up sometimes. Like, I spoke up the other day on your all's tweet about Rowdy, and it's just because like I was with Rowdy, and dude is like trying to figure it out, and nothing's going his way. I mean, the pass clean, and it looks like the ball jumps up a little bit before it hits it and it pops it up. I mean, you just go through those stages, and it's because I guarantee if he gets hot, he'll be a fan favorite because he's that type of personality. And he knows that, he sees that, and I think he's trying harder. And I think when he did that thing with Bednar, like he wanted to take off right then because he put himself out there. And I'm telling you right now, that meant more than anybody will ever know for Bednar because he's going through a lot too. And I've never been this like enamored with like all the emotions and everything that's going on in the clubhouse, but I've never seen a clubhouse with this dynamic in my entire life. It's different, right? It is
because like the different personalities or what?
Well, you have a psychopath in Jared Jones, who's the obvious like leader of the pack, who knows who he is. He has the best identity I've ever seen for a young guy, right? But our point man is Mitch Keller, right? And he wants to be the best. I mean, he's watching a young kid just dominate, right? Who's right behind him? Paul Skeens. Now you have number 3 coming in as Mitch Keller. You can't tell me that kid, after watching him for 4 or 5 years, is not putting the weight of the world on his shoulders, right? Because I looked at his stuff and I'm like, everything's just late. It looks like he's stiff. Like, that's the best explanation I could say. And it makes no sense. Like, he's trying to make the perfect pitch all the time, like he used to. And it's his stuff is way better. He understands stuff way better, and he's competing. But dude, there's a couple times where I'm like, if he just does 2 things a little different and calms down, he's going to strike out 12 today. Because you see it. That's where I'm at. It's just the one thing it's the bugaboo that's not talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
well, let's get to the first base and Rowdy, because you're right. You said some things to me. I mean, I said some things. You came, and your perspective on it. We went a little bit back and forth, and I felt like let's go a little bit on it today.
Absolutely.
But before I get to that aspect of it, I do just want to bring this part up too, because I don't think I really talked too much in this regards about that incident, because I don't think I was on the post game that day. But like when you mentioned about Rowdy stepping up and talking with the whole Bednar situation, I liked it. I know there's a lot of people that didn't. I know we got a lot of hate from a lot of fans, and they're like using against him right now. I appreciated that a lot from him. I really did. I know there's people that said like, he shouldn't have to speak for others. Like, let Bednar do it. To me, like what you said is exactly how I looked at it. Like, this is a guy. This is my guy sticking up for me. Like, he reminded David Bednar who he was. And then like, there's a bit of confidence behind him. It's like, listen, you're going to get to this. We're behind you still. I appreciate that a lot from Rowdy. And also just the fact that like, since Rowdy has come to Pittsburgh, he has said a lot of positive things. Like, he's tried to be a vocal leader in that aspect. Like, I get he hasn't been here forever, but he's doing all those things. I do like Rowdy in that sense. Now, when it comes to the play, I didn't really like the signing all that much. And I know we talked about a little bit, when it happened.
And that's a great, now that you can walk through. But like when you already have him, it's tough to even like walk through that. But like what you're saying, right, wrong, or indifferent, what I looked at is, what did it matter to the clubhouse? Because like, I don't think you should ever talk to the fans. Right? Like, but if I was in that moment and my guy Bednar, I probably would have done the same thing without even thinking about it, because I was thinking about just Bednar, and that's what he did. He was thinking about just Bednar, but there was always going to be a repercussion for that because he's in Pittsburgh anywhere he goes, right? And that's the reality. Like if Andrew McCutchen did it, same thing. Like he would be getting like right. AJ, it doesn't matter who it is, but if they go out and shove, they go out and dominate, and they're walking real tall, that's empowering too. It could have gone either way, and it was going to be interesting. And it definitely hasn't gone the way that I wanted it to go, but it is what it is.
Right.
And I'm with you. Like, it's like anybody on the planet in one of the toughest times of their career in the place they love the most, somebody stick up for him. That'll forever be in Bednar's mind, and he would go to bat for that guy anytime. And that's the team you want. And
he was literally talking to David Bednar through the fans.
Absolutely. And doing it out loud. Yeah, exactly. Because that makes it real.
Right. But
go ahead.
But the performance on the field hasn't been good. And now it's made him an easier target because of that. And that's why I allude to, like I wasn't a huge fan of the signing. The biggest part was just the roster construction, right? Like there's just a ton of risk. We talked about it. To me, this offseason should have been about risk mitigation, right? Finding someone with like a higher floor, less variance, because when Rowdy's struggling, well, he just becomes one of the other 7 guys that are struggling as well. We have a lot of young guys on this team and such. There's no high floor, some stability here. It's been bad. It has been, it's been bad. Now, granted, he had the walk and was it 2 doubles the other night or just 1?
He went single.
So
he went sack fly single, and then he went walk and 2 doubles. Then last night I was off. I haven't even looked.
Okay, so it was 2 doubles. So now his OPS is at 555, but Fort, his OPS, he's a first baseman. His OPS was at 480, I think, at one point. It just hasn't been good. And the entire offense is struggling. And there's some worse. Henry Davis also we can speak to, right? But Rowdy Tellez is the guy that you went after. He's the free agent signing. It's the guy that's at first base. First base, when the glove has been better than what it has been, but he's not coming here with like a gold glove first base guy, right? He's coming here for the power. He's a lefty. You're here because you can hit the ball really, really hard and really, really far, and you're going to get us some runs. And he hasn't done that. It's been 1 home run on the year and now 3 doubles since he had that one game with 2. Wait, actually, hold on. Does he have a home run? Oh, yeah.
He has 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So 1 home run and 2 doubles. My bad.
So I could go 9,000 directions. So I kind of want to make sure you rein me in a little. So which direction you want me to go? Like, you can argue about like signing him, right?
We don't have to go there. We've talked about that.
Well, no, but I think you could say, why not Santana, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the what you would say is Santana's numbers as a platoon, because this is what would have happened, or you had to play Santana every day. You could look at it from an analytical standpoint and say why Rowdy made more sense. That would be the only thing. If I had to pick, it's a different story. That's a different conversation. But I don't know if Santana would have been happy getting just left-handed bats when he has a ton of upside from the right side.
Okay.
So that's why that's the only other guy I could have seen us signing, because we're not talking about Nick Gonzalez in 380. So if he comes up, where's Triolo play? Well, now we have the best infield in baseball. Possibly, right? If O'Neal Cruz can finally get up above and shoring up that defense, we know we have great pitching. At some point, these guys are going to hit, right? But if Tellez doesn't pan out, right, it is what it is. They didn't sign him here for the part of the future. I'd love to have him here. I wish he went completely bonkers because he's a great leader. And we have, in my opinion, a tough draw when it comes to position player leaders, because Henry Davis is probably that guy and he's not playing well. So it's an advantage if he plays well, and it's not going to kill us if he doesn't. And they can make moves as early as they want, because they're not on the hook for a crazy amount of money, if that makes sense. That's why the Hoskins thing is it's not realistic. Why sign a right-handed power bat at PNC Park? It'll never work unless he's the line drive guy. Line drive first guy makes complete sense, or an opposite field power guy makes complete sense. But to spend that much money, lock it up, knowing that you have Indy Rodriguez coming back, Bart's future was supposed to be as a platoon guy at first base and a catcher, and then Henry Davis. You have 3 guys that could possibly hit 20 homers behind the plate. Where are you going to put them? You have O'Neal Cruz that's 8 feet tall. Where are you going to put him? If it doesn't pan out, you got to put him in the left or first base. So it's like you got to think through, I guess, all the movement. Because I'm with you. Like, you could just look at it from this moment, but they have to look at it from all of it. And that's what's tough. It's really tough. Right, wrong, or
Yeah.
indifferent.
And so, like, I use Santana just because, for one, that was a target a lot of fans wanted. It was a target that when
And he wanted to
signed,
be
he
here.
kind of looked. What's that?
He stated that he wanted to be here.
Yeah. Well,
And he was really close with O'Neal Cruz too. And I think
it seemed like it was almost like a done deal. Like, it just made too much sense.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, like the glove was there. He performed well enough. The floor was going to be kind of high. Like, he doesn't have the ceiling that Tellez has. Like, if Tellez can go off and hit 30 home runs and do that, he's probably going to be more valuable of a player, right? He's going to help with his offense. It's just, what are the chances of him doing that? Maybe not that high, as we're looking and seeing right now. Now, granted, Santana, very, very poor start as well. Now, he's caught on fire a little bit lately. I think he's had 4 straight games of the home run.
Yeah, so those guys are similar in that aspect. Like, if Tellez goes and it's going well, and I hope we don't run into any lefties or we sit him or whatever, he's a guy that can get really hot, like 7-8 homers in a week. Like, that's always been his MO. He's kind of can be frustrating for fans, but like when he was hot, I mean, we didn't throw to him. We didn't pitch to him. When he was cold, you just threw to him. It's good. I don't want to say it's like Jack Sawinski, because Jack Sawinski's way too young, but Rowdy's been this way since I played against him in the minor leagues, and he was the same way in the big leagues. And when he got the opportunity, he seized it. It's just like, I think he has a hard time figuring out what the opportunity is sometimes, but that's all another story.
But like, so what is it? Like, what are you seeing from him too? Because it's strange. It's not like he's striking out a ton. Like, a lot of these teams' problems is like they're just striking out. He's really not. I mean, his K rate is in line where like it probably should be. When you see him, he pops everything up. Like, I feel like it's a grounder to this second baseman, or it's going 400 feet up in the air to the catcher. Like, he's not standing up there and just hacking away and striking out. I mean, he's making contact. It's just very, very poor contact from him.
Yeah, and I think it's, Derek Shelton says this a lot in his press conference. He says in between, and nobody ever really explains that. And I think he is in between on what he's trying to do as a hitter, right? Do damage, gap to gap, drive the ball out to center field. We just saw him early on hit a lot of balls to the left side for him, which is opposite field. And for me, he's always been a really, really strong pull power guy. And at PNC, that's not going to play very well, right? He's hit some balls 390 feet that have been outs. And it makes me wonder, like, does he need to just change his viewpoint? He did make a mechanical adjustment. The swing is getting off better, but he's still just missing it. He's still just in between. That makes me think, where his sights are, what is he trying to do? Because the approach looks good. He's not swinging and missing, right? And
right.
I really believe like it's probably a simple thought, and it could click in any moment. So, because, if you do not want him to get length. So as soon as he shows that he can catch up here, he's going to get more out there. But when he gets it out there, he's too quick. And it's like he's in between. It should be where he's like, I'm on it. I'm going to stay on it. I'm going to sell out that way, or I'm going to get there up top, and I'm going to, match the plane and hit a homer to right field. But I haven't even seen him like do a scary, like where he hits one 9,000 feet foul. And he used to do that against us all the time. That's what's kind of, and I don't know if that's a confidence issue, that's when it becomes a cat and mouse in your mind. Because you can see it's more in the mind thing than it is in the body thing. Because I saw the adjustment, I'm like, that's good. It's going to get better. And then he hit a couple balls hard, and they got the hit, sack fly, double, and we'll see.
Okay. And again, like, the problem is, I know, like, the faces of Pittsburgh Pirates right now, everyone's gunning for is Rowdy Tellez because of his performance, and Andy Haines because of just the entire team performance. But again, if Rowdy Tellez wasn't here, and say it was Carlos Santana, or say it was Rhys Hoskins, even, in that sense, like, this offense is still really, really bad. And again, going down the line, like, Henry Davis just is looking completely lost. O'Neal Cruz completely lost. I feel like it's gotten a little bit better this past week. But like, I think the thing that's really standing out is it's almost like, as a team, there's just way too much complacency, just way too much sitting back and watching pitches as well. I mean, granted, the team has the most caught looking strikeouts in the league. right?
Yeah,
Percentage
we
wise
have the
and
most
total.
pitches seen too. Yeah, by like a mile.
And so let's get to that a little bit because that was something I kind of praised them for. I've been harder on
And
Andy Haines
and
his tenure.
you should praise
And
them for that. Like you nailed that. And there's a reason why that's so important. So
well, and we've talked about like the importance of it, but something that stood out. Well, I guess I'll say that. I'll just say we did give them praise the early part. And you saw the success in the team. And, this approach is really, really good. They're seeing a lot of pitches. They're finding their pitch and capitalizing. And that's what I'm not finding now. And that's why I say, going back. That's something that stood out. You talked about this. I don't know what show it was, but you talked about this being something specifically they're working on and diving into this offseason of, having that patience, finding your pitch and attacking. And I think it was brought up mainly because of like Jack Swinski. Like last year, Jack was just too passive. Just saw way too many pitches, way too many strikes, way too many striking out, just caught looking, right? And in September, that changed, and that's what we talked about. You're going to see a lot more of that this year. And that's what we saw in those first 11 games. And I feel like that has just completely changed. Like the approach is still there, seeing a lot of pitches, but they are just not capitalizing on their pitch. And I feel like O'Neill Cruz is the one that's struggling the most on that because O'Neill Cruz watches strike one go by, and then he watches strike two, or he swings at strike two, and then he's done. I mean, O'Neill Cruz 0-2 is toast because like I just feel like he's not the recognition at that point in time. Pitches are just gonna demolish him. That's what you're finding with him. Like to me, I just find, and I think a lot of people relate to this, that as a team and it's as an organizational philosophy, it's detrimental to some of the players. And that's kind of the problem. Now, is this really just like this entire organization philosophy? Or is this just coincidence, more or less?
it is 1,000. So when you say philosophy, seeing more pitches and understanding the zone better and understand what they're doing and drawing down your whiff rate is 1,000% a byproduct of something they're working on. And it's brilliant because the Dodgers do it. They're one of the best in the league. The Braves do it. They're one of the best in the league. Houston's the one that started this. And it's looking at it, okay, well, then what, right? It's buying into the approach. And I tweeted something out that Saban said. He's like, you can give them everything that they want and everything else. They have to go out and execute the plan that they believe in. And that's where I think the misconnect is. It's like it's not lack of information. It's not lack of preparation. I think it's lack of identity. Like you can't teach O'Neill Cruz. You can't teach something you don't understand. And everybody that says you can't, like everybody that's like, oh, bring him up. Well, when they sent him back down, like he needed that. He needed that more than probably anybody even realized. And like, I think someone needs to just walk up to him and say, hey man, if you think you can hit it, go hit it. Like just hit it, like swing, try to get 3 swings off every single time and see what happens. And that may be a terrible approach, but like, he's just got to start
works for him.
Yeah. It's like, he's a bad ball hitter too. Like, I don't think he can be, a guy that maybe is patient. I think he's going to learn his patience and understanding. And I go back to an at-bat, brought it up, and we talked about it on air. And I went back and talked to him about it in a sense of like, hey man, that was you. And he goes, and he got 3 hits that day. And I think it was just because he was ready to swing every time. He wasn't looking for a pitch. He was just ready to swing. And you can look at, I love what Jack Swinski's done, but I also hate that he doesn't have the swing and miss. So it's finding the balance of the two. And I think if it does, it's going to be wild how good he could be, because he did everything that everybody hates, but he's still not hitting. Right. And I want to see the power.
Right.
And then Connor Joe, same thing. Like he's probably the one that you can say that guys put it together, because the strikeout numbers, and he's just swinging more on the first pitch, especially with runners on. So like he went in and figured it out, but he's 31 years old. He's been around a lot longer than these guys. And he went into arbitration. It's the first time he's ever gotten a paycheck that's guaranteed for the most part. So it's like these guys are trying to figure it out, but then the platoons and all these different things. Michael Taylor starts out incredibly hot and then sits for 4 days to rest his hamstring and then comes back and does. I don't think he's ever even had a chance to get comfortable because it's tough, and that's what's so crazy about all of this is like, it's like the perfect storm of, oh crap.
Oh, it's a lot of oh crap right now. Yeah, that's for sure. And that's like, again, like that's where my head is going with this, because kind of two things coming up in this. Like when this whole regime came aboard, I felt like at the very beginning stages, the biggest talking points was individual, like getting the best out of each player. Just, like I think like what got tired from the old regime was one size fits all, right? And when Charrington came in, this whole new regime, it was like, we're going to individually make every player the best they can be by their traits, what makes them better, right? And it seems as if we've drifted into this one size fits all again.
Well, say that one more time. Like say it again and think through what you just said.
Okay. So when they took over, right, they were going to bring the best out of everyone, right? So like what makes you and what makes the best version of you, we were going to enhance that and work on that to do it. And they've slowly drifted into being like one.
But who's they?
The team, just the team in general. I don't know who they is. Now I can tell you
that's what I'm trying to tell you is like
are labeling who they is. That's what I think the problem is. It's not. So we talked on Starbucks this week. I don't think like getting rid of Andy Haines is going to be the absolute
I'm not even saying
answer.
anything about that. It's that the they factor is you got it. That's why I think it's so incredible to lock guys up. And people don't talk about it. Like if you believe in that human being, I truly believe, because then you can say, I believe in you, and you're not wondering. Everybody here is non-existent as soon as they get hurt. Everyone here is non-existent as soon as they pitch bad a couple times, right? Bailey Falter became a legend after he pitched good a couple times.
Yeah.
And it's like they fought for him because he's a good human. And you do that enough times, you put together a team. We have a good team of good humans. Now it's like these guys got to figure out some of these things in their identity and understand that the Pirates are one team that they could be playing for by July, by August. There's just a different animal because like no one this year I think feels comfortable. If you know what I mean. Like it feels like that. You could see it because it's been 5 years since this regime came in. So all what you're saying has happened. Like they've given the right information, but what they do with it, the guys, right, and how it's implemented on a daily basis from the coaches and down from the baseball operations is a bunch of people that want to win and they're not. And it gets more and more tense and more tense. And they're all probably reading everything about it. And I think they just got to slow down and just say, hey, we were really good and we could be even better. Let's just trust this, this moment and learn from it and grow. And that's what I hope they do, because they could be really good. They should be really good. And they're going to have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball very, very, very soon with the demon from down under coming up.
Well, a little peek behind the curtain. We are actually recording this on Tuesday. It's Paul Skeen's day, and he has 5 innings pitched. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 5 innings pitched, 6 Ks, 4 hits, 1 walk. His ERA is down to 0.41. So, yeah, speaking of that rotation and what's coming. But yeah, I guess where I was going with that, though, is again, like you're talking and you said it yourself, it's a very organizational philosophy in the sense of like taking pitches and stuff like that. But when you have someone like Ono Cruz struggling, like who is that guy that should be going to him right now and saying this stuff? Like you mentioned, like, that's what he needs right now. Isn't that like what Andy Haines should be like doing? Or like, who is that person that needs to like just get with O'Neill and be like, listen, here's what you need to do. Like, I don't know. I guess that's just where I'm at right now. That's my
and they're saying it.
Okay.
But it's understanding. Yeah. Like hindsight, I'd love him to be Joey Votto, right? Stupid power, doesn't strike out. It's just like, but he may be Schwarber with a little extra more power, right? And that's what
either right now.
Yeah, and that's what they have to identify. Is like when you say floor, like what would be a great floor for O'Neill? If he honestly knew that, like, hey, you don't have to hit 70 homers, But I said, I really believe if you said, hey, O'Neill, I want you to hit 70 homers this year, I think the guy could go out and do it. But that would be his only focus. It'd be frustrating. It'd be so frustrating at times, right? Like Acuna,
it's frustrating with only 3 right now too. So,
well, it's just like, what's the goal?
Yeah.
You know, if Jack Sawinski, if you said, hey, Jack, I want you to hit 30 homers, but also I don't want you to strike out, and I want you to stay on lefties, and it's sparingly when you play against lefties, and it's sparingly what's going on, it makes it really tough to figure out, like, well, what do I need to do? You know? And it becomes instead of a chess match, it becomes like old Zelda. You're going into new worlds all the time. You can't figure out what you need to do. So I think that's the biggest problem these guys are having. They're trying to figure out what their identity is and capture it where they can play with freedom and conviction. Because that's the one thing I don't see. I don't see a convicted team. That's what you're saying. I don't see convicted guys going up saying, this is me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that makes this game impossible. If you get stuck there, you're in a place that makes it very, very hard. Because Henry Davis can hit. He can hit. So what's happening, right? Everybody said he couldn't catch. He can catch.
And he's shown that.
Yeah.
I give him a lot of credit behind the plate. He's
Yep.
looked every bit of he can be a catcher.
Yep.
Is he going to be a Gold Glover? Probably not. Does he need to be? Absolutely not. But to me, he's a catcher. I think we're getting that answer right now. I'm very comfortable knowing that he can be a catcher. Right. But yes, the offense and it hasn't been all year. And like last year, you can use the excuse of the injury because when he came up, I mean, he was looking good. The only guy to hit 2 home runs off of Shohei Ohtani in a game.
Yep.
The $1 billion man, basically.
Yep.
So Henry Davis, and then the injury came and he didn't look that well. Spring came and he looked every bit of, okay, he's back. And then as soon as the MLB season started, it seemed as if it just dissipated. And like he just looks also just lost. Can't hit a fastball. But regardless, what I want to ask you there too is because you personally, like this team is struggling. They're all having struggles. When you struggled, what did you do? What did you do to find yourself to just mentally get back to where you need to be and start performing?
So I always refer to what I did and then go back to like hindsight, because being able to look back, I would have changed some things and it would have been a lot of this stuff. I would do a lot of the things I was told by our mental skills coach, right? Do affirmations. I would try different things in the drill, in drill work. I would do early work, and all this stuff. And it was always pretty much based about me doing something. Where hindsight, I should have read a book. Hindsight is I should have sat down with somebody and just have them shut up and listen to me walk through my problem. Because when you get to a certain stage in your career, everybody can hit. The difference between really, $100 million player and a guy that gets a cup of coffee is the right moment, the right situation, and seizing that opportunity and believing and being so convicted in that hey, nobody can kind of make you waver, but having someone to fall onto when you need it. I always said you need your ride or dies. And I think that's what I missed in my career. I was always the super teammate, always thought about others before myself, and that doesn't get identified very well. It's not quantified, so I'm not going to get paid for that. But I'd rather walk away and say I did what I could than being a jerk or just about me type thing. And it's finding that balance. And every team's got both. And there's some guys that get in between of like, what do I do? Because this is my career, but this is a team sport. But I get really no enhancement to win except for myself. And it's like, so why would I put myself out there? Why would I steal a base and possibly slide and get hurt? Why would I die for that ball? And I don't think any of these guys are thinking of that. I think their agents are. I think their families are. I think their friends are. And you hear all that stuff. And the people that you're probably needing to just say, hey, man, how's Michael? Or, hey, man, don't forget, you're an All-American. Don't forget how good you are. And those guys probably don't hear that often. And for guys like Henry Davis, who came from being a walk-on at Louisville, is that proved himself every step of the way and then says, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I never forget that I have to prove myself. I want to be a 1-1. And he did that because that's what he needed. He's going to prove it in his own way. But yeah, you're going to also have those demons barking down your neck. And he's got to figure, this is a stage of his career he's got to figure out. It's not going to be easy for him because he's a internalizer. So yeah, I think everybody does it different. And I think the biggest thing you do is get away and remember, like, it is a game. And I'll tell you this, Anthony, is like, when I played the best, man, is when bad things happened. And I say that very lightly. I wouldn't ever wish anything bad happened, but like when my wife's dad passed away, I led minor league baseball for 6 weeks in hitting. As soon as I came back, I didn't play a game for 11 days, came back off the field, dominated. Every single, I could go walk through all those instances where people passed away or I got hurt. I knew I was hurt. Day I scheduled surgery. I had a walk-off homer, like, because perspective hit me. And I would do everything I could to get perspective. That's why I say I read a book. I would go to a show, watch something, or do something that would give me better perspective that this is a game. I'm very blessed to play it. I'm very fortunate to get paid to do it. Never forget that. Because when you get to that level, a lot of guys lose sight of that. They lose complete sight of, like, this is what I've always wanted. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard guys, man, I just want to go play again. And they literally want to go to AAA. And that's, like, thinking about that draws everything in me, like, to jump out and just grab them by the throat. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I literally asked to go to AAA, because it at some point it's not about anything other than just, I just want to play my game again. So hopefully that makes sense. Long answer, but I used to kill myself in the cage and everything else. Hands bleeding to a point, and I know there's some guys on this team that does that too. And there's times for that, but like gaining perspective was always important for me.
Well, let's segue to that, because in talking basically the same person, Henry Davis, when we talked highly about his offseason, the grind he had going across country, like basically the farthest corners of the United States to literally travel to. He was doing baseball. The guy is an absolute gamer, right? And he's struggling. And I think part of it too is me personally, right? I wasn't in the game, but guys don't know how to fail. And I think Henry Davis is one of those for sure. Henry Davis is just so talented. Everywhere he's been the best player, right? And I think that's where this has been my biggest talking point with prospects and calling them up, right? Everyone wants to baby them. Everyone wants to, you got to get them up there, right? They got to succeed right away. And I'm like the opposite. No, they got to get up here so they can get their struggles, so they can develop and learn, right? I mean,
keep it going.
I will
Preach.
Fight everyone to the death on that. Bring it. But I just feel like
say this one word from now on, because it's going to happen and everybody's going to be like, oh, wow, Jackson Holiday.
Yes. And
he's going to drop the hammer when he comes back. But he needed to fail.
Clearly.
And if they drew that up by design, I would say they're brilliant, because his dad was there. The one dude he looks at, everything you could do to trigger everything for him to press was right there. They didn't call him up at home, which was mind-boggling to me. Everything they did was there to make him, and maybe it was by accident, but man, did it look like it was drawn up perfect, right? Hey, let's make sure we're going to have him face dudes he's never seen. It wasn't electricity. It was pitching type guys, and throw him at the bottom of the order, which they didn't do all spring. Everything they did said, hey, by the way, now you're in the big leagues, kid. And everybody wanted to talk to his dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, if they drew that up properly, good for them. If not, it's going to be a great play because of what that GM said. I don't know if you read his thing, but it's exactly what I said about Henry. I said, someone asked me recently on the Fan, what would you do if you're Henry? I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I should tell you what I would do. He goes, no, tell me. I was like, I would walk into his office and send me to AAA. I need to go get better so I can help this team win. I am part of this future, and I'm a huge part, and I know it. Send me back down. I don't deserve to be here. And I can't tell you that kid has not done that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's kind of where I'm at. And I think
I love it. Great perspective, dude, because it's so true, because you don't know how a kid's going to respond.
Right.
And you're right. They've never failed.
And he's failing. He's struggling. And again, like, I'm not trying to go psychoanalyze him, and I don't have any degree in that sense, and I don't know him personally, but I can probably bet you he's the hardest on himself. And that's that's good, but also not beneficial. And I guess where I'm going to go with that, you talked about Jared Jones and how psychotic he is, right? One of my biggest things I've talked about with him is I love the fact that he wants to compete on every single pitch. And if he loses, he gets he gets angry at himself, but he doesn't implode. And to me, that is what I like almost the best of him, right? A lot of guys, especially a rookie pitcher like that, they're going to get, they're going to internalize it. They're going to get frustrated and they lose everything. And now they're just as bad. And he takes and he channels it in a positive direction. I'm not saying Henry Davis doesn't, whatever, but I'm saying what I found with Henry Davis is he's also like you say, internalizing stuff too. Like I feel like he's putting a lot of pressure on himself and he's just not there. And the Pirates are in a fortunate position where, yeah, Jason Slade goes down. They get Joey Bart. And again, against all the things that I said about Joey Bart, I apologize. Joey Bart's been playing well. So that helps them out. Grandal's, in AAA right now, performing well enough. He's coming up. They get an opportunity where they could probably send Henry Davis down because they can afford that opportunity. Is it time? Is it time that Grandal comes up and Henry Davis goes to AAA?
Yeah, I think if it's well communicated. And I used this example the other day. I want Bart to work, but I also was Bart. You know what I mean? And the one difference was they didn't ever let me take the reins, no matter how good I was. And I was maybe as good as I possibly could have been for about a 6-week stretch in 2012. And they let me wear it. And I don't think that was the right thing to do, but I think figuring out how to balance that would have been better. I'm with you. I don't know. I think both kids care about each other and care about the right thing. And I couldn't imagine what their communication is, because Bart pinch hitting for Henry had to be the weirdest thing in his entire life, especially back at his old ballpark. And there's communication that has to be there, because Henry's never been pinch hit for in his entire life. And I'll never forget the time that happened to me. And the first time it ever happened, I hit a homer that day. And I got pinch hit for it. And I didn't know what to do with it. But I know I didn't hit for the next 10 starts. I was having good at bats and not getting hits because I was all over myself. But I faced Scherzer. I faced Kershaw twice. I faced all these dudes that I shouldn't be hitting, but nobody told me.
Bums.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, somebody's just got to go up, put their arm around Henry and say, hey, you're really, really good. You're going to be a huge part of this. You did everything we could have ever asked for. Now go find yourself and come back and dominate. And I think Paul Skeens and him are going to be the future that makes this a Pirate team. I really do, that because I think Paul Skeens, Jared Jones, and Henry Davis can be unapologetic about who they are, and they'll lead the ship. And we haven't had that since AJ Burnett.
Yeah.
AJ Burnett, whether anybody wants to realize it or not, Rod Barras was behind the scenes. Clint Barmas was behind the scenes, leading a ship in their way, but they all had their own way. And we have that. And it's really close once it's all together. So I think Paul Skeens has that screw it mentality. Jared Jones has that screw it mentality. Henry has that servant mentality, but wants to have that. And that was who I was. I wanted to have it, but I couldn't have it. But I wasn't Henry Davis. So I think we're on the cusp of being really special. And those guys aren't going to allow anybody to get in their way. So that's my thought, especially when Skeens is here. That's why he's scary for everybody, I think.
I can't wait. It's coming close, right? It's close, right? Is it?
Well, he hit the marker that I said he had to hit. And so now it's just, what's the right move? Because I can't even, when people ask me, what are they doing? I can just tell you what they're doing. I can't tell you anything other than that. I don't even talk about right way, wrong way. It's their way. It's regardless of how I feel or what I think or anything else. I don't have enough information, but the biggest thing is it is what it is. It was done the way it was done because it was done that way. And so I'm excited to see what happens when they bring him up, and hopefully it's just let the Liger out of the cage and just let him go.
The Liger.
Well, I don't know how else to describe him. It's so funny, man. Think about it. We're trying to you can't quantify O'Neal Cruz. I keep people ask me all the time. I'm I don't know. I'm watching what De La Cruz. I didn't see him being I saw the ability to be that good, but like O'Neal Cruz could be better,
He
right? But De La Cruz had he had a ton of struggles, and
Yeah.
I don't want to chalk it up to say like, oh yeah, it's because he didn't get his at bats last year. I don't think that's a problem. Like I think he's a freak and he's trying to figure out how to deal with that. You know, I don't think an avatar knew how to be an avatar. It just happened. So I'm waiting for that moment. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah. Well, I guess just kind of get back to the offense here too. You know,
Yes,
again,
let's
like
get back to
the
the
entire
offense.
team is struggling. I don't know, man. Like where does this team go from here? When's this offense going to come back?
I'm pulling up the lineup right now.
Like, have you seen a team struggle entirely like this team is? Like, this isn't just like 2 or 3 guys. It's basically everyone outside of Brian Reynolds. And Connor Joe's. Go ahead.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you real quick. So you haven't looked at the lineup, have you?
No.
Today. Okay. Try to guess the lineup today. Lefty on the mound.
Well, I assume Connor Joe's leading off.
Keep going.
And then Brian Reynolds.
Hold on.
And then Hayes, Kutch, Olivares, Triolo, O'Neal, and then Davis. Is that even 9?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You said O'Neal.
Oh, Taylor.
Davis. Okay. So Taylor hit 9th.
Yeah.
Key Brian Hayes, Reynolds, Joe, Kutch, Olivares, Joey Bart, Triolo, Michael A. Taylor, Alika Williams.
Okay.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's never the same.
Consistency? Yeah.
The only time it's the same is Brian Reynolds.
Yeah.
Was Key Brian.
I say Brian's
after he hit a
interesting.
homer, he went to the leadoff spot. Like I don't know. Like they have all the information in the entire world. They do it for a reason. It's just like Kutch hit 2 homers to the leadoff spot, and we won games. And then it shifted. It's just constantly shifting, and knowing how hard that could be, it's tough. Like
Right.
And like I don't know what to say about that. You know.
Okay, that's a fair point because I agree. I don't mind like a Brian leading off. Like it kind of makes sense, especially this year. Like he actually is hitting pretty well. There's no power though. Like he finally did hit that 1 home run, but basically his production's coming from a decent average, but he's walking a lot more than he ever really has, right? He's getting on base a lot more. Yeah, like Reynolds is staying at 3, but again, I've been a proponent of O'Neal Cruz leading off against righties. When that's not going to happen now because he's struggling, I don't understand why Kutch isn't leading off. Like, I don't get why Kutch batting 4th or 5th opposed leading off makes sense.
Well, I brought up this point. Most people don't talk about it. I think one reason why Schwarber is an even better leadoff spot is because he's a DH. He's never running off the field. So his first at bat, he can walk from the cage, loose as a goose, and hit. And that's what, like when Kutch went out homer, I was like, yeah, that's got to feel great because it has nothing to do with when he used to come in, get his routine in. He created a routine into that. And I think he liked it, you know, and it's a terror at the top because he's a guy that gets on base. Then you put those other guys behind him. It kind of gets weird because the way you got to look at it like this. I look at everything like I'm calling a game, right? So Andrew McCutchen will not get anything to hit today. Because I want Olivares to beat me, right?
Right.
But putting Connor Joe in front of Andrew McCutchen, maybe I will pitch to Andrew McCutchen, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of look through, like, why did they do it? And I do that every single day, and it makes it kind of work. But then you also have to play the cards. It's like, how do I get someone going? You know, I love that they kept Alika at the 9 spot, but once again, his predictability should tell us all something, right? He's been consistent. And it doesn't make sense, except he owned his role, his consistent in when he's playing and what he is and what he's trying to do every time he goes up there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's there's something to be said about that. I think I really do. So,
yeah. Okay.
But I mean, I like the lineup. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think it all works. It's just like looking at it in the examples, like maybe they're trying to get Brian Reynolds more pitches to hit, put Connor Joe behind him. You know, that because Connor Joe's numbers in the 4-hole are ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
well, he's just playing really well this year too, just in general.
Yeah, in general, and defensively too.
And like lefties and righties also.
Yep.
Point out.
Yep. And I'm not a huge proponent of. I think the lefty thing matters more, but I think matchup should be talked about more. Like, because sometimes you match up way better against the same sider, and that is a reality. I mean, like for example, I would have to do the split sometimes, and I would hit better for power against lefties, but I'd never hit them better for average my entire career. I think Kutch kind of floated in that area for a long time until it switched, and his numbers got a little flipped. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, it's just kind of year to year. So, yeah, I just think just pay attention to that because like you'll see other teams and it doesn't float around as much, but you'll ask questions why. But it begs me to say once again, when you're floating around, you're getting put in situations in different ways and you don't really know who you are. So like the other day when Michael Taylor bunted, why didn't he bunt twice? You know, and it's because like he hit 21 homers last year. But like if he's staying in that position, that's what he knows he is. I think he bunts again because I think he sees the situation. I don't think it was called for. I think he did it on his own.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like I just think it's hard. Like the O'Neill Cruz thing. One of the problems you mentioned, I wouldn't put him in the leadoff spot because if he thinks he has to take pitches, I do not want him there.
Right.
And that's where like these conversations are so productive because you know I think. Putting Kutch at the leadoff position, in my opinion, says you're the leader of the pack. More than anything else, he needs to be reminded every now and then. You know what I mean? And then he had success there, and I think maybe moving him, you know, it's like, well, what did I do wrong? Because he's not a guy that's going to say anything. So yeah, for you guys, I appreciate you and even the fans, I appreciate so much, and I love the passion. It's just like there also is like. They're all searching. They're trying. They're searching. And I'm not giving them an excuse because they didn't give me an excuse. They got to figure it out. And at some point, it is a problem, a huge problem. I just hope it's not the problem that we want it to be. I hope we figure it out and they use it.
Do you think, this might be a hard question, just put it on you, but do you think it's coming where jobs need to be considered?
I honestly cannot tell you. And yes or no, because here's the thing is I was on a team multiple times that took over and the coaching staff got all the glory, but the coaching staff was the problem. So I think there's a way to banter against the coaching staff. It's just the best on the planet know how to do that. Know how to say, I'm going to play into this to make me the enemy. And there's coaches that do that. There's other ones that are coached, and there's others that just try to figure it out how to win. And we got a lot of all over the place right now for me. So to answer that question is really tough, and I don't even know which direction you would go. I think more than anything is like going back to the very first thing we talked about is I see a team without an identity. Like when I look back at the Anaheim Angels, 2 best players on the planet, right? And they didn't win. Well, who could tell you who they were? Right. You could take either one, like Soto, for example. What's he doing in New York?
Dominating.
And I think because he's around juggernauts, he doesn't have to be the Soto that they've asked him to be. He has 2 twin towers behind him. And I think that makes him feel like I could just be me. You know, because I would have thought that pressure would have dominated him the way San Diego did, but it didn't at all. And the only explanation is he doesn't have to be the guy. Because even when he went in with, exactly. And he's the swagger guy. The other 2 guys are not the swagger guys. He went to a place where it was all swagger guys. So it's like when I say like the Yankees nailed that is probably an understatement of the world.
Well, now they got to give him his $500 million now too.
True. True, which is a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a part of the game that we constantly don't talk about that I see all the time, and it's tough because everything's banging against each other. It's just like banging heads.
I get it. Yeah, I know. Again, like the fans they're getting very anxious right now. But
they deserve
winning.
They deserve it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's that's the bottom line. Like, I mean, if someone gets mad at me for saying any of that, like, they deserve winning. The guys want to win. The organization wants to win. But there's always got to be accountability in win or loss. Like, if I don't win at work, if I'm not good, I get fired. That's the way the world works.
Right.
But it's like, do I fire them or do I teach them? And if you have ever owned a business, a lot of times someone makes a big mistake, you fire them. Nothing good happens because you're bringing in someone else and teaching them a role that person already had. You say, hey, there's a consequence to this. Whatever the consequence you decide, and then you bring them back. You show them some grace and love. They have loyalty, and that loyalty can be something that is invulnerable for a team. So they have to make that decision, which one they're going to be, and it's going to be exciting to see, because for me, like, I don't know, and everything in the media is so much different. Like, I remember back in the day, man, like if I was hitting 200 as a backup, I was getting beat up. You know, it's just not the same. And Mackey can say all he wants that, well, we can ask these questions, but, you know, they don't have to answer them. I was like, yeah, but the players aren't answering either. Like, and most of the time they're not getting asked, you know, and that sucks. I hate that. I think that makes a stronger man.
Gotcha.
So,
well, I do just want to say, you know, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring. Like, if they do want to hire me as a coach, I'm available.
Well, cool. I'm not.
Just put out because like I said, your boy Kutch has already told me I am a coach apparently. So, and I just want to let you know, since, you know, I told Kutch to start swinging the bat, right? Because at the time he was striking out 42% of the time, had a 66 weighted runs created plus. Since that time, when he listened to me, he's only striking out 25% of the time now. 101 weighted runs created plus, league average hitter. I'm just saying. Maybe they can.
And he's not playing hurt anymore. That's probably another reason too.
No, we don't need that. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He just took my advice. He said, okay, coach. And I just assumed, even though he accidentally blocked me, that he just took my advice and ran with it. So
yeah, I mean, maybe he can just take it every now and then.
Yeah, I'm available.
Small I mean, yeah. No, he's a great human, and he's got way more in the tank, and I'm excited when he puts it all together. So
yeah, well, I just want to say I'm a little bit slighted that he blocked me. That's like the most hurtful thing I've ever probably said to Andrew McCutchen. Just saying, hey, swing the bat.
Well, I mean, but like, look at it. Look at his trends, right? So exit velo on average is better than Brian Reynolds. Hard hit percentage is best on our team. His weighted OBA is third on our team. Expected batting average, which I think is a little skewed because he had so many ground balls, 220. Expected slugging 432, which would be third or fourth on our team for bats. You just kind of look at it and you're like, well, this kind of looks outside the K rate, which he has. When you get to, and I had this problem my last year, is I walked a ton and I didn't swing enough, and partly on me because I should have gone outside the zone. But like, you get in your zone, right? And when they make you leave, you have to make a decision if I'm going to go there or if not, right? If I'm going to go to their area, because they seem to be able to be pretty predictable now of their misses. And Kutch, like, I think Kutch will figure that out if he needs to leave the zone. Right now, I would say no. I would say he should turn around and say, do you know who I am? I think they would be terrified, to be honest with you.
No, he's looking.
You know what I mean? Like, because, and I think it's, there's no question. But I think we're in a league now that forgets that it is the league. And a lot of people are talking about automated system. It's like, oh, this is the worst it's ever been. It's not even close. It's not even close. But there was actually fear in calling a ball when AJ Burnett was on the mound if he looked at you funny, right? There was a fear of calling a strike on Todd Help when he turned around. It looked like he was going to cut you like a deer. And Jim Thome had the smallest zone I've ever seen in my entire life when I caught. But those guys earned it, and there was a fear there. Nobody even talked about it. And I think if he kind of looks at those young guys with that fire in his eye, I think it will change really fast because I don't think those guys want to make those mistakes, and he's not going to swing at it, and he shouldn't. He was one of the best guys in baseball, right? So, like, if he starts swinging at it, that's when he gets out of whack, and that's what happened early on is he put pressure on himself he shouldn't have to get the balls he shouldn't even be trying to swing at. So, and he was in a bad spot. So all that wrapped together sucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's, once again, that's part of the team aspect of all this is like they're trying to find their identity. And I think they will. I really do. Okay. I don't know what that's going to take.
Well, it better be soon. That's all I'm saying. Better figure out what it is. Let it be soon. Let's get back to these winning ways. But as always, Fort, I appreciate you coming on, talking some baseball. I know you got a busy schedule ahead of you, these West Coast games too. So we'll let you go.
Hey, I appreciate it. And hey, I like the real talk today. It's kind of light. It wasn't as lighthearted. It was more light on the tough side because like it's all because we care, and you should be able to joke around. You should be able to take those jokes and all those things. And I really hope it changes in the near future. They get on that winning way and run a little bit.
Same. And you would have thought Oakland would have been the team to do it. Last night wasn't so great, but hey, 2 more games, we'll find out. But at any rate, we'll let you go. Thanks for coming on again. Bye.
Bye.
We'll see you guys later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
You all, thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.